I think I'm grieving the version of myself where I, I didn't think about my mortality or what life would be like for my family if I wasn't here.
Hey, hey, welcome back to the Torch Mom podcast. We have a special guest with us tonight, Amanda. Torch Mom taking on risk and crushing hate daily. Amanda, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome, and I thank you for sharing space with me tonight. Are you ready to get this party started?
I am. I've been looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. So let's go ahead and jump into these questions. What was your childhood like, and how do you think it shaped the woman you are today?
Absolutely. I had a great childhood. I'm the oldest of four. My mom stayed at home and my dad worked. And, reflecting now as an adult, I realized how kind of idyllic my childhood was. My parents moved us down to North Carolina from New Jersey when we were little. And I have so much respect for them doing that, moving to a brand new state, three kids under the age of four, and just completely rebuilding their life. So we were able to travel and play sports, and my dad coached all of our sports teams. My mom volunteered, so it was it was a really wonderful childhood. And growing up in that kind of environment made me really appreciate what I have, and have that sense of being able to give back. And so I always look for opportunities to do that. And now with my own kids, instill the same sense of values and respect that my parents instilled in us when we were younger.
Oh, that's awesome. So you are definitely working within the community then.
Yes, yep. A lot of volunteer work, and we're involved with our church and within the community, within sports. So I'm just always looking for ways to give back.
And then who were you before motherhood? What were you passionate about? What did your life look like?
I was a go getter. I was looking to climb the corporate ladder and love to travel. I met my husband when I was fresh out of college at 22, and so we traveled and we explored, and just we loved going out and being social. And live music was a big part of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime we had a chance to travel or to socialize, we would always take it. So I'd say I was very active, and I think now I didn't realize how much free time I had before coming a mom.
hmm And then what was your career like then?
I I knew I wanted to work for a large corporation. So I started off really small. When I graduated college, I got a job in the water and wastewater industry, which
Mm.
had nothing to do with my degree. I had aspirations of being this international event planner, but I graduated right during 2008. Which was the major recession. So I moved home, completely changed my plans, but I was always looking for ways to grow. Always looking for opportunities to learn and to grow and to, again, give back. And I've been able to find a career that has allowed me to do that, which I've been very fortunate in.
Awesome. Okay, so let's shift into motherhood a bit. What were your biggest fears or anxieties about becoming a mom? And how would you say you prepared yourself for that transition?
Oh, that's a great question. So I was the first of all my friends to have a baby, to be pregnant. And so it was a really, I wouldn't say scary, but I was venturing in this unknown kind of all by myself. So I did a lot of reading, what to expect when you're expecting, all of the books. I found mom groups online. And so I think, what I think I was most anxious about was just the unknown. Like, how
Mhm.
how would I be with this new baby? How, what would life be like? Am I qualified? I've never had to take care of someone else before.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I was very fortunate to have an easy pregnancy, a really easy delivery. But then it just took me by surprise that now my life had kind of shifted. My priorities weren't the same. I still wanted to be successful at work, but now I had this baby that was relying on me.
Mhm.
So it was a much harder, I think, transition than I had expected. People always ask, I have three, and they're like, oh, was it hard going from, one to two or two to three? And I said, no, because at that point, we're already living in chaos. It was just that shift from 0 to 1, where it's this whole new world. I think that really caught me off guard.
Mhm. Mhm. And then throughout either of your pregnancies that you choose, were there any challenges throughout of any of them that you faced?
No, I was very fortunate, through all three pregnancies. I was able to stay healthy, and I had girlfriends, who suffered from really severe
Mhm.
just morning sickness, and
Mhm.
even some, yes, just some mental health challenges dealing with pregnancy, or dealing with toddlers, and now being pregnant too. And so, I'm very fortunate that I had very easy pregnancies and deliveries.
Okay, great. And then how did becoming a mom shift your sense of identity?
Oof. It's so cliche, but I'm like, now I understand the phrase, like, my heart is outside of my body. I've now have this person, this baby who is completely, um, relying on me to take care of her. And so I, I still wanted to be successful in career, and I still wanted to keep that sense of self.
Mhm.
But I really leaned in to being a mom. I really enjoyed it. But, I did keep those identities almost, they were coexisting. I was a working mom. I went back to work when my daughter was 12 weeks. And that was hard, because now, before, I could just solely focus on myself and my work and my career, and um, now I had another full time job on top of that.
Mhm. Right. Another one. You definitely said that right, huh? Okay. And then, so I have to commend you throughout your travels and experiences with being able to be a breast cancer survivor. I'm definitely honored to be able to have the chance to sit here and speak with you right now, you know?
Thank
So,
you.
when you were going through that time and that entered your life, what would you say shifted inside of you first?
Oh, it was it was an interesting time, because I was 34, when I was diagnosed, so I wasn't even at the age to get a mammogram and do all that. And it was also during COVID. And so our world had already been completely upended. We had all three kids home, um, doing schoolwork. My husband and I were both working full time. I was in grad school. And so I think my sense of security shifted.
Mm-hmm.
I never really considered, my own, like, what life would look like my own mortality. And so being faced with this diagnosis and then still having to show up every day as mom, it really tested, I think, my strength. But I think to answer your question, it really shook my sense of security. I assumed I was young and healthy, and
Mm-hmm.
now with this diagnosis, it just threw all of that kind of right out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for your transparency and being able to share that with us.
Absolutely. I've been very fortunate in the sense that I've been able to connect with women. Unfortunate as to why we're connecting, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's such power. And same with what you're doing, talking about motherhood, is that everyone is going through something, and unless we talk about it, unless we see someone else that has gone through it or is going through it, it can be really isolating. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say before my diagnosis, I was pretty private. I wasn't a super open book, but now it's like, you know what? Ask me anything you want. If there's something in my journey that I can help you with or just make you feel less alone, like bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a conversation and let's have that dialogue.
Yeah. Most definitely. That connection is always needed. That community aspect, knowing that you have someone in your corner without that judgment, is always great to have.
Absolutely. And I think that's key too. You can have conversations with other people who may not be parents or who may not have gone through cancer. And as much as they want to connect with you and as empathetic as they are, they just don't get it. And
Yeah.
so it's so nice to connect with other people who are like, look, I get it. It's hard. I truly understand, and just so not to feel quite so as alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's something about surviving cancer that people don't fully understand unless they've lived it?
I love that you asked this because you know I really struggled with this new sense of identity. I had I survived. I reached the finish line. I finished my treatment. And I almost felt like the world was expecting me to go back to who I was before.
Mm,
And I'm not that person anymore. That sense of self, that sense of identity no longer exists. Like I've lived through something really hard and I can't go back to who I was before. And so struggling with that a little bit of just figuring out who I am now, and figuring out like I've made it. I'm here,
mm-hmm.
but I'm also not the same person. I have fundamentally changed, and I think it was hard for people to almost reconcile that. It's like I'm grateful to be alive. I'm so thankful to be here, but I'm also really mad.
Yeah.
I'm also really angry that I had to go through that, and I'm scared. I'm scared that I beat this, but there's always a chance it'll come back. And, I have these three babies that rely on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just recognizing that the after continues, that survival does not just end when treatment ends.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still having to reconcile this sense of self with being a survivor, but also being fundamentally changed at your core.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like, how do you navigate being the person going through something life altering while still needed as a mom, wife, and human?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. It's, and one thing that I say now, and in retrospect, I wish I had given myself a little bit more of, is just giving myself grace. because there were
Mm-hmm.
days that I was just tired and I didn't feel well, but my kids would be like, "Mom, come on, come play." And I had that sense of mom guilt too. It's like I want to, but I'm so tired. And
Mm-hmm.
so just recognizing that, going through something hard, like you need to also take care of yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with someone recently, and they likened it to putting on your oxygen mask before you're able to take care of anyone else. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's really prioritizing where you want to spend your time and prioritizing yourself so that way you can be there for those
Yeah.
that love you and you love and want to be around.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. And that has been being aired and surfaced around with that oxygen mask. So you really have to think about it and layer it within your everyday life and see how it can actually change things for you, when you put
Absolutely.
that as important. Hmm. Let's jump into chemo a little bit because you said that it felt like you were going to the spa after being quarantined with your kids during
I did.
COVID, which honestly says so much about your humor. Hmm. And how important has laughter been in helping you survive difficult seasons?
Absolutely. And I just want to caveat the going to the spa because it was. It's something I joke about now is because it was COVID. There were my husband and I, our three kids, my mom, my mother-in-law, all in our house together. My mom and mother-in-law had come over to help with the
Mhm.
kids during the day. And so when I went to chemo, I was the one that everybody was catering to. They're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, can we get you a blanket? Can we get you chips or a drink?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." Like, no one's asking me to like wipe their nose or grab a snack. And
Mhm.
so I think humor is so incredibly important. You have, in the moment, you can't see it. I certainly had to come out the other side in
Mm.
order to really appreciate that. But having being able to see the silver lining or a bright side or lighten whatever experience it is has
Mhm.
been so healing because then if you can accept it and you're like, look, it was really hard, but I can laugh about it, I can joke about it. Not everybody's going to get it, not everyone's going to appreciate it,
Mhm.
um, but I think that's how I've coped. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes it makes people a little bit more comfortable if I'm joking about that and they're like, okay, well, she's obviously okay about it. She's accepted it.
Yeah. Mm. What a perspective shift.
Absolutely. And I had to remind myself throughout the whole journey, it's, this is really hard, but let's look at the silver lining. Like it's COVID. So I worked from home. I didn't have to
Mhm.
go into the office. If I had a Teams call, I could take my camera off so I didn't have to wear a cap or I didn't have to show up with a
Mhm.
bald head. And I could take a nap in between meetings if I needed to. I had those extra years with my kids, and it was kind of nice too because I didn't have to worry about them being in school or daycare and bringing germs home. And
Mhm.
so it's all about like this is really hard, it's really trying, but there has to be something positive that we can find, and that really helped me get through some tough days. It's like, all right, this we're going to get through it, but let's see what's the positive, how can we spin this perspective.
Mhm. Mhm. And do you think that humor sometimes becomes a survival tool for women carrying heavy things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's almost easier to deflect a little
Mhm.
bit with humor and maybe not necessarily get to the root of how you're feeling.
Mhm.
So Absolutely. And I certainly would not encourage using humor as opposed to really digging deep
Mm-hmm.
and addressing what's going on. But sometimes it's a coping mechanism, and absolutely a survival tool.
Yeah, yeah. What does torch mom mean to you?
I have to say, I found you on um, social media, and I was so inspired about what you're doing to bring moms together. And I just have this vision of you as this, this like woman almost leading the Olympic uh, sign, like holding the torch. Everyone's following you to say, hey, come with me. You're not alone. We're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like every conversation that you have, you're lighting that torch. You're bringing awareness, you're making those connections. And so being able to bring a voice or a light or awareness to others who are in the dark or feel alone is so incredibly powerful.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. I truly appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Your podcast focuses on the in between seasons of life, those moments after everything changes, but before you fully know who you are again. Why do you think that season is so hard for women?
I think we're just expected to get through it,
Hmm.
get on with it, and we don't allow ourselves time to reflect on what we've been through
Mhm.
and reflect on who we're becoming. And I am so honored to have shared conversations with women of all walks of life, with women who have struggled with mental health, with intimate partner violence and traumatic birth experiences. And we don't talk about those because we're expected as a society to say, "Oh no, I'm okay." Like it's okay. I'm okay. But inside it's like, "No, I'm not.
Mhm.
I am not okay right now." And so when I was struggling finding my own identity and really my footing after my cancer experience, I'm like, I can't be the only one. I
Mhm.
can't be the only one who is in this in between of something significant has just happened, but I'm still evolving and just no one's talking about it. And so it's been a really I'm so incredibly honored to hold conversations with women and men of all walks of life, but mostly, a lot of women who have been through something and are willing to be vulnerable in sharing their experiences.
Mhm. Mhm. And you just being there for them to want to open up and say that throughout your platform is awesome. It's
Thank
amazing
you.
what you're doing as well.
Thank you. It's I am so honored with the vulnerability and the strength that
Mhm.
I've been having in conversations because they're not easy.
Mhm.
They're really hard conversations, but they know that, by sharing their story, it could help someone else feel not quite so alone.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that just has to be done because no one should feel alone out here. Nobody.
Absolutely.
What version of Amanda did you have to grieve in order to become who you are now?
I love that. I love that question. Um, I am grieving the carefree, almost naive woman that just assumed life wouldn't be easy, but would be okay.
Mhm.
And I think I'm grieving the version of myself where I, I didn't think about my mortality or what life would be like for my family if I wasn't here. Um, but I think through that process, it has made me change my perspective.
Mhm.
I'm more intentional with how I spend my time,
Mhm.
with who I spend my time, and what I really want out of life. I would say not that I was on autopilot before, but I just kind of was going through the motions. But now I realize that every day is a gift, and I'm even the hard ones.
Mhm.
I'm grateful to be here, and it took going through something like cancer to make me realize that, you know what, you only have so much time. What are you know you need to make it count.
Yeah. Hmm. Man, I just I thank you so much for just being able to drop these gems in here because even though you're speaking of self, I want moms, women who are listening in to drop in the comments and let us know how you're feeling. How do you resonate with what's being spoken right now? Right? Because you think about how do women start rebuilding themselves when they barely recognize their own life anymore? Where do you start with that? You know?
Yeah, it's hard because as moms, again, you put have a tendency, and again, I'm speaking generally, but you
Mhm.
put everyone first, and then
Mhm.
you almost lose your sense of identity. Like, what makes me happy? Not as a
Mhm.
mom, not as a wife, but me as an individual. And so I think it's so incredibly important to just be intentional with reflecting on
Mhm.
what what brings you happiness, what brings you joy. And it doesn't have to be this big life altering thing, but what did you used to do that maybe you haven't had time to do,
Mhm.
or a hobby you've always wanted to try,
Mhm.
but it's just even 5 minutes journaling or reflecting or taking a walk, just getting out of the house, so going into a new environment so you have a chance to really reflect. And and it's hard to carve out that time, but it is so incredibly worth it.
Mhm. It definitely is. And you feel so many different ways after you able to pick and choose whatever you do on either day. Mm, what a great feeling. Because sometimes you just have to do something different so you could feel something different.
Absolutely. It's being intentional. And it is so easy to get caught in a routine or a rut and kind of get on autopilot. And
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, it's a month, 3 months, a year has gone by, and you're still in the same place. And believe I was like that for years. And so I'm speaking of a place where I lived, and I would not want anyone to have to go through something so challenging in order to realize that. And so I'm hopeful that this message may reach someone who's in a state of change or becoming, and realize that it is uncomfortable, but it's okay. It's okay to take that time to reflect, go into a new space, change your surroundings, and maybe that'll bring some different perspective.
You better tell it like it is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there something moms pretend that you wish we would all just tell the truth about already? Mhm.
Everything's okay. I'm okay. it's we're not. I mean, and I say that, and you know, but it is so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in that sense of comparison, especially as your kids get older and different friends and activities, and trying to keep up with everyone else just for whatever reason. It's like, no, I need to do what's best for me. I need to do what's best for my family, and realize that everyone else is most likely feeling that way too. That,
Mm-hmm.
we may not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize, because if you don't, then you're going to get burnt out and you'll find yourself back in the same position that you are now.
Mm-hmm. It's okay to say no.
It's the hardest word in the world. And I am a recovering people pleaser.
Hmm.
I'm actively in recovery, and sometimes it doesn't go well. And I find it really hard to say no, because I want to be involved. I want to help. I want people to like me. But then it's 11:30 at night and I'm baking cookies, or I'm, doing something, and I'm like, "Why? Why? Is this bringing me joy right now?" Like, no. It's not. Why did I say yes?
Hmm.
And so I think if anyone listening were to take anything away from this conversation, it is okay to say no. You need to protect yourself and do what's best for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are there any upcoming projects or ventures you're excited about?
I recently launched my podcast, and so I'm so excited to be working on that. And I'm just starting to dip my toe in the world of speaking as well, talking about resilience and burnout, and just really excited to be able to connect and share strategies and stories. And I'm just really excited for this new season of life.
Hmm.
My kids are older. I'm 5 years out of remission. I just hit a milestone birthday. And so I'm, again, using that word of intentionalities. I'm being more intentional with where I'm spending my energy, and recognizing what energizes me and what drains me, and
Mm-hmm.
removing as much as I can of the draining work, and really focusing on my family and what brings me joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is great. What would you say one cycle that you're intentionally breaking through your motherhood right now?
I grew up in the 80s and 90s, or in the 90s. I'm an elder millennial, and so the one cycle I think I'm breaking is having conversations with my kids to say, look, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my parents are very open and communicative, but it, they were the authorities. And so we never really had those conversations. And so I think it's important to model that, adults make mistakes too.
Yeah.
And you still have to listen to me. I'm still your parent, and I may not have handled that the right way, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you're feeling and what we're going to do better next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Hmm. Yeah, so that gives ideas to other parents out here to just, feel that it's okay when these changes are coming in and not feel like you've done something wrong. This is why I asked that question too, because we always feel like we just did the wrong thing. Yeah, maybe it was a mistake, but It's a learning curve for everyone. Take it that way more than the other way.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
something I read recently, it's, as an adult now, realizing that your parents were growing up with you
Hmm.
and learning with you. They had never been parents before, and so they're figuring it out. And so that gives me, I feel like I turned out okay. My parents did something right. And so I'm trying to give myself the same grace. I'm not going to get it right. I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I'm doing my best. And I know my kids are loved and feel safe. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
Yes. Yes. Hmm. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to share with our audience, or is anyone you'd like to give flowers to before we close out?
I love that. I would just like to invite anyone listening. If you have a story or you feel like you would like to even connect, please feel free to reach out. I'm always looking for guests on my podcast that are in this stage of becoming. And so please visit my website, amandalentz.com. I'm always open for a conversation and would love to connect. And I would love to give flowers to you for this space that you're holding, this intentional community that you're building, and for amplifying voices to help moms in all walks and stages of life feel not quite so alone.
Well, thank you very much. And you guys, I will be sure to drop all of her information, resources in the description section so you can just tap and go. Man, I want to thank you again for sharing your insights, experiences, and space with us, Amanda. Your time and energy is truly appreciated.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to speak with you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
You are so welcome. You guys, if you loved today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mom who needs to hear this. Have experiences or questions to share? Send us an email to thetorchmompodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook at The Torch Mom Podcast. Plus, the Torch Mom Confessions Hotline is always open. Call 202-670-6476 anytime, or use the voice memo link in the description if that's easier. And don't forget, this week's confession question: your voice might be exactly what another mom needs. Didn't have a backstage pass to check out the live stream? It'll be available for viewing on our YouTube channel, The Torch Mom Podcast. So be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Negativity is forbidden, and energy is power. Remember, what you desire, you already have. We love you. Stay torch.